Our story is we were living the typical American dream. Happily married, 4 healthy, great kids. Actually adopted our son from Russia, kind of like an extra credit. I mean, we were living the typical American dream.
We had, 4 kids and the minivan, and I was a stay-home mom. I was so blessed to be able to stay home with the kids.
Mike was a man that had, he's an engineer, thereby he kind of treated his life that way. Do this right, do this next thing right, and things just kind of fall into place.
But we were really on the treadmill of life. The treadmill, what I call we were cruising. We were just going through life, and everything was going to be good, and everything was going to be fine.
His belief system was, you do it right and do it the way God says to do it, and things will work out that way. And that translated into a lot of the ways that he lived with his family, with his job, all those things.
We just had an incredible life. We had what every young girl dreams of, is to grow up, get married, have kids, and we had it all. We had a beautiful big house, and Mike had a great job. They were so wonderful to him. He did travel quite a bit, but with that came frequent flyer miles, so we get to take lots of trips, and we felt very, very blessed. The Lord had been very good to us.
But I remember a time that was in October of 2001 when I was driving across Nayland Drive with my wife, and I said, you know what, things are almost going so well. They just can't keep going this well. And what I didn't know was that things were really about to change. A couple of weeks later, late October, actually October 29, 2001, Morgan became ill. And just as a kid would be, Monday morning, it was sick, didn't go to school. Kathy kept her home. I took her to the doctor. The doctor said, she's got a virus, take her back home, just keep her hydrated. But Morgan kept throwing up.
We ended up taking her to the hospital, and we really thought we were just going to be there for a few days. Met
Kathy at the hospital, carried Morgan in. I remember she was breathing so fast. It was almost like she had just run a 100-yard dash, and she could talk to me, but she was just limp, totally limp. So I carried her in, and she had blue sweats on, and took her in a children's hospital, and they were ready for her, and took her up to the 3rd floor where they began, okay, she's got a bug, she's sick, we'll get her hydrated.
And it ended up that they tested her and found out that she tested positive to having type 1 diabetes.
Now, Morgan didn't have diabetes. This was the initial onset. So for me, I was devastated. And I remember talking to Kathy across the hospital bed, and she said, you know what, God's got a plan. It could be worse. We can handle this. We can do this. But for me, I was going, wait a minute, type 1 diabetes. I mean, remember this cruising life? Life was good, the American dream. I'd kind of just see it evaporate. God, is this a dream? Is this really happening? Why us, Father? Why our family? Why Morgan? She's got diabetes. I can't believe it. I cannot believe this is happening to us. God, I need you now. I need you to just take care of this and just take it away. Oh, just let it go away. Just let this be a dream, please. Oh, my heart hurts so much. Not Morgan, not my little girl, not her, not our family. Please, God, please take this away. Just take care of this, please, Father. What we didn't know was, type 1 diabetes seemed to be devastating, but what was about to happen next was so much worse. They decided as a precautionary measure to take Morgan upstairs to ICU, took her upstairs, and they got her on some IVs, started walking her blood sugar down.
She was doing great. Her numbers were coming down, and she was doing really well.
We had met with the endocrinologist, and it was, just go through the, here's the plan, here's how we'll go do that. And they told us, they said, there's some really rare complications, but it really never happens. And so I didn't even think about it.
A small number of kids, especially if they've been sick for quite a while leading up to this point, will develop complications. As they take back on the fluid that we're giving them through IVs, the brain cells themselves will start to swell, and that creates symptoms that are very worrisome, and the patients will become much less responsive.
About 3 o'clock in the morning was when she crashed.
Kathy had the shift. She was in ICU and I was laying on a little cot.
I remember going out and getting Mike. He'd been sleeping in this little consultation room, and he was came running in there, and he got on his knees, and we just started begging and asking God to please save her.
They quickly got in touch with the doctors and decided to take Morgan down for a CAT scan. And they quickly took Morgan down. There was about 8 nurses around her. They were bagging her.
And I met her in the CAT scan as those images were being taken. And at that time, she was in great danger. Her brain indeed was swelling that we could see on CAT scan, and she continued to manifest that by symptoms. So after we got those images, we rushed her back up to the intensive care unit so we could begin additional treatments to help reduce that swelling and prevent the dangerous complications of that.
My sister was a former nurse, and she showed up in the other room, and Dr. Childs walked out and said, "I took over everything." And she's on a ventilator, and the next time we saw her, she had like 16 tubes running out of her body. It was, I mean, here she was, healthy, running around Sunday, and now it's Tuesday morning, and she's got 16 tubes. She had blood pressure. They had main artery tubes. She was on a ventilator.
One of the ways that we manage patients who have high pressure in their head from swelling or other causes is to actually put a monitor in their brain. We have to drill a little hole in the skull, put a bolt and pressure monitor in there, and measure the actual pressure. So the medicines that we're giving to try to lower the pressure, we know whether it's working, and we know whether from minute to minute whether that pressure is at a safe level or not.
We started watching these things called ICPs, and those ICPs were, it would tell you how her brain pressure was, and it's supposed to be like between 0 and 5.
Hers consistently stayed 15, 20, go up to 30 if she heard like a loud noise or there's some laughing or something. And so we just sat there. We weren't allowed to touch her or talk to her. Any type of outside stimulation would cause her pressure to increase.
And so here's my daughter 2 days ago, healthy, and now she's got 16 tubes. She's got a bolt in her brain, and they don't think she's going to make it.
I've asked you 1,000 times, please let her pressure reading come down. We're in a battle for Morgan's life. Please don't let her feel any pain. God, please let her wake up. I just gotta know she's gonna be okay.
I was out of ICU. Kathy came back in and she says, "Mike, there's something wrong again." And I went back in, and they had told us they wouldn't let us go back by Morgan. Her ICPs were up to like 60, and they were going up, and they were scrambling again over Morgan.
We like to see that pressure in the 15 to 25 range, but at times her pressure was quite high, indicating how severe her brain swelling was. It was a very scary time.
And I went out in the hall, and I ran into a good friend of ours, Scott Branson, and he just hugged me, and I just looked at him and I said, "You know what?" I said, "I know God has a plan, but man, it really stinks right now."
But exactly at that time, which was 9 o'clock, 9:15 in the morning, Concord Christian School, which is where Morgan went to school, they had a prayer time, and all the kids stopped to pray for Morgan.
They stopped all of their classes and all of the teachers, even the staff at the church, First Baptist Concord. At 9 o'clock, they all stopped and prayed.
And we believe that God intervened, and we walked back, they had us come back in, they go, "We don't know what happened."
They said, "You're not going to believe it, but she's still alive, and she's doing really well."
And it was now, we walked in, it was like 10 or 15. The next couple days, which was, we were just in the survival mode, trying to make it. We didn't want to stay in ICU. I'd sit in a rocking chair, we'd spend the night in there. And that was on Tuesday. On Thursday, they decided to do another CAT scan. They were hoping that they were able to catch the brain damage that could occur. And they did the CAT scan. I remember they wheeled Morgan downstairs.
Mike was able to look and watch the doctors and nurses as they were, doing all the scanning.
And I saw their faces as they saddened and as they wept. And I knew it was bad.
And the doctor wouldn't even talk to us, and he wouldn't even really even look at us. He just said, we need to go upstairs.
One of the longest elevator rides of my life. Got in the elevator, went upstairs, went into a room in ICU, and he began to tell us that Morgan had massive brain damage.
Her whole left brain stem was completely crushed.
I just remember, again, getting on my knees, putting my head on Kathy's lap, and going, how can this be happening? This is my little Morgan.
I remember just being almost numb. I was just stunned because there was always that glimmer of hope that, she was going to be okay and that it wouldn't be that bad.
What's going on? Just a couple of days ago, Morgan was just fine. And now she has brain damage? Brain damage, God, this is my Morgan. This is my little girl. I know that Kathy thinks it's all gonna be okay and that you've got a plan, but I'm just not sure. God, this is killing me. Please, I don't know how much more I can handle. Please take this burden from me. Please, Father, take this burden.
But what I didn't even realize is on Friday, we were talking to the doctors and they go, we think she's gonna live now. And I'm like, think she's gonna live? I mean, I'm waiting for her to jump back in my lap. I'm not just worried about her living, although that's what I had prayed for. And God had answered that prayer. So on Sunday, which was one of the worst days of my life, our story is we were living the typical American dream. Happily married, 4 healthy, great kids. Actually adopted our son from Russia, kind of like an extra credit. I mean, we were living the typical American.